Good evening, everyone. We are from the Italian Chamber of Commerce, and I will be your moderator today. Welcome, everyone, to our webinar. The webinar is called Everyone Needs a Better Logo. From CIA to Burger King to the Carwash, graphic design is the key. This is indeed a very, very interesting webinar. And we have a speaker also with us, Mr. Tommaso. Mr. Tommaso, you can open your video and so everyone can see you.
Hi, everyone.
So as you know, this topic is very, very interesting. We have many people already in the waiting room. And Mr. Tommaso is going to speak about how logos are important. It doesn't matter if you're a big corporation, a small company, even a city, everyone needs a logo. Just to let you know about Mr. Tommaso, Mr. Tommaso is an Italian visual artist and early years book author. He has a PhD in arts education and is also the resident artist at the Thai Italian Chamber of Commerce. So Mr. Tommaso, we all look forward to a very, very interesting webinar with you, something that's useful every day in life. For businesses, for cities, it doesn't matter. So the stage is yours. Please, we look forward to a very interesting webinar.
So thank you, MJ, for the introduction, and thank you, everyone, for being here today to attend this seminar. So in a moment, I will start the presentation. Let me share the screen with you all. Okay. Sure. So I assume you are able to see my screen now, right? Okay. MJ, confirm?
Yes, Thomas.
All right.
We can see the screen.
Fantastic. All right. So as MJ kindly introduced, today the topic is everybody needs a better logo. So when I say this is because actually, if you look around you, the society nowadays, we are in the visual society. So everything is visual. So we have picture every second. We are literally bombarded from social media to newspaper with the most intriguing picture every second. IG became so popular because the picture. So Facebook is the same. 90% of people are just watching picture. And some of those pictures are just logo. I'm sure that during this time, even if you don't remember now exactly a logo, you can remember some company. If you say Coca-Cola or I say some car maker, some logo pop up in your mind. This because you have in our minds color still there. Even if you close your eyes, if you try to close your eyes for a few seconds, you will notice, or even when you sleep, color still in our mind. So this is just a quick introduction to show you how relevant are the logo, and because they're made by color, they will be your face, the way you interact with your public or eventually your customer. So this is a well-known square that I assume many of you recognize is New York. So why I pick New York? So New York is well known, was very well known by artists, especially in the 70s, 60s, 70s. So everybody knows the glamour at that time. But then what about the tourists? So tourists need something to bring back home. So if you cannot buy an Andy Warhol at the time, or Basquiat, maybe you need just a little souvenir. So Americans, especially New Yorkers, don't have the Colosseum or the Tour Eiffel. So they need to invent something that you as a tourist, or me as a tourist, can bring home as memory. So they create a logo, for instance, the well-known logo created by Milton Glaser. So is well known and everybody now copycat in many different ways. So it's very famous because you can really simplify I love New York with just one letterhead, one symbol, worldwide well recognized. So this logo never changed since the 70s. Even the author was quite impressed the fact this logo done a very or quite quickly, still the same. It became so popular. So if you went to New York, you can still say shopping, a place where you can shop those things everywhere. Many people have at home. And it's even rare to see graphic design in a museum, but this logo became so important that now the first sketch is already at the MoMA, the Contemporary Art Museum in New York. So this just gives you the idea how impactful can be a logo. So if it's relevant for a city, of course, can be relevant of any of us. No matter what is your business, national, local, or global. It's something that help you to connect with people, your customer. The first things they remember. It's hard to remember maybe a street, but one typeface, couple of colors are easy to remember. There's a bit of Milton Glaser that he developed so many graphics. And then I bring you another sample. So of course, this is a huge company. Everyone knows IBM. So they literally change time to time their own logo. Of course, but the question is why they change? Why a company so big need to change their logo or adjust the logo? Well, they can say, I'm big, I don't care. But instead, because they are big, they always want to expand their audience. They need to be relevant or what they are doing, the way they communicate to the audience, a potential customer. So if you notice, there are several stone, several key points where they change from the first one in the 1888 to the well-known logo that everybody knows nowadays. You see the last one done by just stripes. So between the one in 56 and the one in 72 is almost a decade. The designer worked back and forward to find the right balance to make it contemporary and appealing to a large spectrum of audience. That's important because when you communicate with your brand, you communicate with your logo. Your logo, you can maybe print your packaging in your physical product, or even if you do a service, maybe you apply, for instance, your T-shirt or some other appliance. And then you play even with the idea of sound. You can still read IBM, right? So let's show you how visual is so relevant in the nowadays communication, even before, of course, the what we call the social media. Orand developed the contemporary logo. They're still in use nowadays. It is so well balanced. The fact that it decided to use the stripes, he already was a sort of pioneer because already say was thinking about how people will see this on TV, on screen. It actually works. In fact, they are using nowadays in all the application, and they are capable to change without losing their own identity. Because when you do the logo, basically it's your own identity. That's why it is important to keep relevant and change just slowly, bit by bit. or sometimes you need a bigger one, but it's important people can be able to recognize year by year, decades after decades. You need to communicate with the right people at the right moments. The car maker, the first car maker many of us are thinking about when I was mentioned earlier, which logo is in your mind when you think about a car maker? Maybe it's this one. I'm not sure how many of you recognize or remember well. Where is the blue one? Where is the blue part and the white part? That's tricky, but seems not a real problem. In fact, doesn't matter. You still remember that Bill M. V is a very consolidated brand of automotive industries. So if you notice, they make just few change. You notice the first one, almost a century ago, until now, they're just 5, 6 one, is this one. Very few change. The important things is keep easy to recognize. People is easy to remember. It's a story that has all its background, never lose any piece of it. Why they choose the color? They say they choose the color because they were in Bavaria, in Germany, and they can use the color of the area where they are, but they have to twist the color, and they cannot use any stemma and emblema. So they find a way to be recognized, important in the local market at the time by using the color of the region. Time pass, the logo just adapt to the time. If you notice, even the logo type change bit by bit, slowly, just a minimum change. So became stronger and stronger with the time. That is important. It's important to not lose your roots and be able to be always relevant in the contemporary. The nowadays, the nowadays logo is almost similar to the one you will see later on for fashion. Of course, because one industry influences another, and both looking for new adopters. Well, we have the main case of McDonald's. McDonald's started with just one little shops. And actually, they were not really into business in terms of franchising when they start, until somebody say, "Oh, your product is quite good," and start to help them to create what they are nowadays. So, of course, helping them to spread across America was the well-known logo, the gold arch. So after once they start, people were looking and waiting to see the golden arch in their own town. That means you are part of the map, and finally McDonald arrived. So is a mark that is your business card, is the way you put your face, people recognize. That work for a small entity to big corporation. They start small, they open one after another. It takes years, decades to become where they are. But if you notice the logo, since at least the 60 is the same, just small change. Done according to with the people, the context, how trends, fashion. The logo needs to summarize all these and keep your identity with you all the time. And then you have to consider that the logo is not just a flag. It's something that even people work with you have to identify your possible customer as well. A decade ago, we started talking about prosumer, people that are not just consumer but want to interact. And that's what happened nowadays with all the social media. We have a real-time interaction. And what people remember first is the logo, is your face through the logo, through your visual identity. That's what makes it appealing. Similar to the book, you choose by the cover, mostly, if you don't omit. That's happen for any other product. Think when you go to the supermarket, which brand you buy, the one you know well, of course, but you attract, of course, the one with a bright, beautiful picture on it. Apple started in a similar way. Let's say when they start with this philosophical tree, if you remember. So it's a Newton waiting for the apple to fall down. Of course, this after a year, Steve recognized that this doesn't match his own style, what he wants to deliver to his potential customer. So he decided this was time to change. So he kept just a small portion of it. So the Apple still there in the Newton finalized on Apple. The legends say he decided to make the drawing of the apple by it. Why? Because it was easy to recognize. If not, if you don't have this bite on the side, it will be like a tomato. And maybe it was not fitting what it was ready to do. So now, since the 70s, end of the 70s, this logo is still the same. If you notice, they change basically just the inside, the color, the shades, but the identity keep on. In fact, if you consider even the product, how they change during the years, are basically the representation of what the potential customer are. The logo is the first part. Is the one who connects you with your audience. No? Is the conversation tool. It's a matter of trust. And here we have a local sample, not that local because it's global nowadays, but even Thai Airways, when they started as a local company, as everyone. So they were able to blend the two symbols of Thailand, the gold and the orchid. This is what everyone think about when you consider Thailand, right? So since the 70s, they changed the logo. If you notice, the first one was a figure from Thai theater, traditional. They simplify by using vibrant colors like the gold and violet, or purple, if you wish, and they create the new symbol. Initially was in Thai, and then they change it in Latin alphabet. So nowadays it's so strong that you can go ahead and recognize the logo even without a logo type. Logo type is a logo when it's only typeface, only typography. So the symbol itself already is well recognized. That means it's a well done job and represents a global identity. If you see a bit of history, another big case study, let's say, is Red Bull. Even this brand, is a product, is a drink, but a drink, as any drink, need a logo, especially if it's a drink that is unconventional, as it was the Red Bull. So the idea of Bull was strong, and they basically changed mainly the name to be more international and easy to pronounce. See, but they keep the identity, and they do in any activity they do. So if you think about the Red Bull, what they create every year in terms of creativity event for youngsters, they always put the value of their own brand in the logo, and they transmit in their activity. Basically, the logo is the top of the pyramid of your identity. Who you want to conquer, who you want to talk with, who, who is your customer. You want to expand to, you need a niche, you want to expand your niche, you need to make your logo strong again. Why you think your logo is right, or why your logo need an update? Have you ever tried to compare your logo with your other the company in the same field or other fields? Maybe sometimes it's even good to see trend near you to see if you can catch something and bring in your own identity. So IG is very young company, but everyone knows already in any country. But besides this, in just less than 10 years, they changed 4 times. And if you remember, every time they change the logo, everybody complained why you changed the better. The old one was better, but end of the day, everyone start to follow their own trends. So it's a loop. The social media absorb what is around, and we absorb what is in the social media. So it's a cascade working. It's a loop. Nike logo. There are story that this student was asked to do the logo, and they sketch up something. Initially, the owner was not that sure about, but then the market proved that was the right logo. And nowadays, we don't need to write down it's Nike. Everyone recognized that's mean the logo became so strong and now became a powerful message. You notice now they don't even use it in their spots. They don't need it. See how they change from the with the typography, and now since now you don't need it anymore. You can see a sort of a retro style because now is what's trendy is use a bit of past and twist with the presence. Think if there's something that catch you and you can add to your own identity to make it more contemporary. Versace. Versace starts as a fashion designer, as main designer in Italy with his own name as logo, Gianni Versace. But after a while, he decided he needs something stronger. And what's stronger than a Medusa? Something that once you look at, there is no way back. So that's why he chose the Medusa. So you are so surprised they will never forget. So think about your logo. Are people able to remember? This how you use them in any products. Even the petrol, the petrol brand as a shell, you like it or not, they changed. They are big, they start local as anyone, and they change time to time. So maybe some of you will think, why I need to spend an amount of money or resource on branding my own company, on create a logo. But again, it's part of your identity. Say who you are and how much you care about it. A well done visual identity means you really care about your product, the service you are able to give. Mexico, this logo became so relevant that even nowadays people still look at it and get inspired from fashion to many other fields. So Shuma, this was for the Olympic Games, probably one of the best logo that we ever had for Olympic Games. So they bring their own identity and still there and still for something that inspire graphic designer, fashion designer, anyone in the creative world. Now I show you something more that you can see everywhere now, from Milano that they just opened last year to Japan, where they start the logo of Uniqlo. This is so simple. Think about how simple is this logo. It's just two colors and a square. What's simple than that? And a typography. This is how a logo is made. You can draft, but of course you need a grid, as you notice. And this is how they compose a typography for it. Once this is a clear grid, then you can apply everywhere. See, this is the typography to the logo. This is how, basically, this is the work of a designer to develop before coming to you as potential customer or business owner. Can be everywhere. The logo can be small as a stamp or big as a wallpaper, depending how you work on it. See, you try from the smallest size that remind us like a Japanese stamp to the bigger size. And this is very important when you look at the logo. You have to be able to think how the company will use. How will put this in the pencil, or maybe I will need them to use even the wall, to cover the wall when I do renovation. Maybe the bus in London. So just to give you an idea of what does mean, what is the work behind the scene before you see just the sign out of the shop. And then of course you can play with it. It's just, there are some shops. Then if your brand becomes so important, if your logo is so easy to recognize, you can even decide that you open a coffee place. That's what happened last week in Osaka. Louis Vuitton just opened the first coffee shop there. So the logo is already so well recognized since generation, we say, that they can even put in the cappuccino. That seems an easy thing to do, but think about from luxury, and you keep having this idea of luxury by see the same logo on your bag and the cappuccino. So is the context, is what you want to transmit to the audience, you know? Is the context, the environment you create for the audience. So the logo, basically the first things they always will face. So from the recipe to the webinar, so the logo is so relevant. It's you. Again, think about your logo now. How relevant is it in the contemporary society? Or how relevant is to your niche? It is? Or you need a slight update? Do you think it's good as it is from now to the next 10 years? Think about how this really reflect your business now. Probably your business started 5 years ago. If you start last year, something changed or not yet. So when you understand there is something that changed, maybe you need to reflect this change visually and log the first things to do it, and then you will develop all the visual. See how then all the surround makes sense with the idea of the logo. So even um, a very well-known agency, like intelligence agency in the US, this year, I mean, a few months ago, decided to change their identity. Why then such an important agency decide to change the logo? Well, they say in their own publication, in their own PR, they say because they need to attract more diverse people. So they need to engage with a new audience. The baby is not the classic person who will sit in the desk, but they need a very broad area of people with different background. They try to basically totally change this time their own identity to blend with the contemporary landscape. Somebody says for youngsters, there are many discussions on the web, but the fact is they totally rebrand themselves in as the coolest, let's say, intelligence agency in the world. Probably this, on short, long term, will bring a new wave of people they never thought before to maybe engage with them to apply for a job there. So, who you want to attract? Think about. I think if it's the logo, the visual identity of your company is the right one. It's just what they say, their own public relation to the press. So it's just about time you need just a strong change because maybe you notice that, oh, something is missing. Why you don't catch up anymore with customer or potential employer? Why nobody want to work for you? Maybe your image is outdated. You're doing a fantastic job, but nobody knows. If you don't communicate with the right audience at the right time, with the right tools, nobody will notice, and nobody will be willing to work with you. I mentioned early on McDonald, Burger King, now they try to attract more again a diverse group of people, even vegan people. So you need to change. You need to find, even to make a bit funny the logo. So you need to make a bit rounded or see what is funny and funky. Play with the imagination even of your potential customer. So this is just a list, and then I will complete a few minutes of all well-known brands. If you notice, all those in the last few years, they change logo in a quite similar way. You can say, why? What is the reason behind this? Why they want to be all the same? Well, not about being all the same. They don't throw away their own history, but they understand that in this moment, to be relevant, the logo again is your face. And make the face simple that everybody can recognize it at once, make a lot of sense to them all. And now you can see Balenciaga, you can see Burberry. See, now basically the logo is just a box to fulfill. And once you have this, you can create any visual of people will remember, and then you think it's easy to read. Not everyone in the world read or is born with a Latin alphabet. So if you consider this one, the old one, a new one, make it much easier for everyone to read letter by letter. Celine. They keep their own identity, their own product. And what the new logo say, I'm here, I'm present at this moment, I'm current. Thank you.
Thank you, Tommaso. Thank you so much for a very interesting presentation. Now that is the Q&A session, everyone, please feel free to ask your questions. You can write it via the chat, or you can also raise your hand and we give you the floor to ask any questions directly. But thank you, Tommaso. I think it was very interesting to know and actually see with detail how the bigger brands conduct themselves. And it's very curious because someone asked us, Tommaso, and maybe you can share more details. Since
Sure.
we are related to Italy, in your opinion, what do you think is the most iconic logo of an Italian company, and why? If you can share with us in your opinion, Tommaso.
Well, if you think the logo from Illy, for instance, so is well recognized, the coffee. Why? Because it's not just a brand, but the fact that you can find this everywhere in the world. So we have many brands in Italy. We are not Americans, good on marketing, but the brand usually, yes, is good, and we have many products. Think about, for instance, Versace, the Medusa. Probably this is the logo, because the others are logo types. So it's a Medusa, and everyone recognizes. You don't even to write down Versace. That is a powerful logo. In fact, it should, because say once you see the Medusa, then you will never forget. That's a smart move. There are thousands of good logo. Luckily, in Italy, we have plenty of good graphic designer, and many graphic designer, even like the one was the director of Domus or Abitare, Italo Lupi, is a graphic designer and became the art director for a magazine. That means the visual design is part of our DNA. We are quite capable to use. Mario Piazza or many Italian designers, even nowadays, young Italian graphic designer, have even open a studio across, US to China to Japan. There is a visual culture that is very well known, and Italian brands knows. Some of them are willing and they cooperate with designers.
Thank you, Tommaso.
You're welcome.
Tommaso, we have another question. In your experience, since you are a graphic designer and since you did this webinar today about logos, do you see or what do you see companies that have logos, anything wrong with them or anything that the logos can improve? I know it's a very generic question, but if you can share with us what businesses should know that, okay, this should not be done or it can be done better, your opinion would be much appreciated.
Well, yes, thank you for the question. Of course, it's broad, but I think everyone needs really to look in his own niche. So to understand if your logo needs a revamp or an update, you need just to look around what your competitor are doing, or even if your competitor are doing nothing, maybe is or can be relevant to act maybe before others. Maybe your product from Italy want to move, you want to export your product from Italy to Thailand or to Asia. Maybe you have to find a way, maybe just through colors, you can make more appealing, make understanding that. I can say that because I made the logo for a wine company, for a winery, and they import wine from Piemonte to Asia. So we developed the logo, because you always as designer work with your customer, in the way it was easy for Asian customer to recognize in terms of color. You have to consider culture, color, superstition, and all these create probably the best effect. So you have to balance. There is no recipe right or wrong. Your logo can be just your name or can be a symbol, as far as people can recognize it. Somebody
Thank you.
say the best way is if you are able to phone somebody and tell how is your logo without showing a video.
Thank you, Tommaso. We have a question from Mr. Andrea,
Yeah.
and he says
Yes.
it's on chat as well. What is a clear sign of a logo is a bad logo and must be changed? What is the best way to get feedback from the market?
Well, yes. Okay. There are many things in the logo can be wrong or can be slightly adjusted. Sometimes even just the typography can make a lot of difference. Even the space between lettering can change how people are able to read your own identity, basically. So you are really to look into detail. Sometimes, but not always, simple is better. Even color sometimes works flat color, sometimes not. So depending on your business, where you apply the logo, you have always to consider that. Is your logo for something static, something in motion, I mean for video? So where the logo will be. Just give a large, broad response because you can be very specific, but you need to see what logo we talk about.
Mr. Andrea, if you have a follow-up question or you need more information, please let us know, and I think Mr. Tommaso can go more into detail.
Sure.
In the meantime, we have another question from Kun Sasiton, Tommaso, and
Yes.
she asks, can I ask how a logo should be? Is it better just a name or something that resembles the nature of the company?
Well, actually, the logo is you, is your identity, has to fit who you are. So you are the one able to decide if the name is enough or not. Of course, it's case by case. Because even if you choose just to use the name, for instance, the way you use the color, the typography can make a lot of difference. And then again, where you apply this logo.
Okay, thank
Yeah.
you, Tommaso. Then we have one question from Mr. Domenico.
Yes.
How much do you think is important to match the logo with your actual business? Example, Burger King logo matches with burger sales, but Nike logo does not really match with selling sports equipment. Great question, Domenico. Thank you for that.
Yes. Nice question. Yes, I love it. And well, depend on how they start. Actually, so, some start in the company start in a very different way. So if you hire a designer, usually a designer will ask you question to understand why you really and what you want to communicate. So depending again, who is your audience, what kind of product, service, or what you want to deliver. And for some people, something is working. Like for Nike, the swoosh. This is just the symbol is just a representation of the noise you make when you run. And this is the visual representation. While Burger King is much more simple, if you wish to say in this way, because we talk about hamburger and there's a hamburger. probably you can even, we will see in the next future if we, for instance, Burger King does one specific product in many variants, but Nike doesn't do just shoes. Even they start with shoes, that means probably the vision was already broader. I hope I reply. We can have a long conversation about all those questions.
And anyway, Tommaso, if you can also write your contact details, so in case
Yes.
anyone has like a further question, they can send you an email. So you can just put it on the chat
Sure.
in case
Yes.
they need more information.
Yes.
Okay.
There we are.
So we have another question, Tommaso. How important do you think, along with the logo, other symbols are? For example, a tagline or a slogan. What are your opinion on this?
Again, depend what you're looking for and why. So the logo, usually you can divide the logo into parts. There is one logo, the logo type, where is, for instance, the name, the typography, the main name, you call Gianni, for instance, and then you have the symbol. Those are the two main parts of the logo. The other, maybe, I mean, can be relevant, but you have always to consider how many people will read it. Again, we are in the visual society, so everything has to be instantly readable. People are able to catch up in a second. If you have a line, then it will take long to read. That's my personal perspective.
Okay, thank you for that, Tommaso.
Yeah, thanks to you.
Any further questions, please let us know. Now is the time to ask. Until then, I just want to say, like, this webinar will also be played back on our YouTube channel. So in case you want to use this information, you can check our YouTube channel. We will put the link on the chat here, and you can feel free to watch it at your own pace. Look at the hints and advice Tommaso has provided, and hopefully it can help your business. In the meantime, just to announce, like, also, Tommaso, while I just give some time to everyone, whoever wants to ask a question, our upcoming webinars. So we have one on the 17th of February with investment in the Eastern Economic Corridor. We have another one about 3D printing, which is also very interesting. And we have our normal Thailand food innovation about Cruditno oil. So these are the upcoming webinars, quite interesting, just to let everyone know. Thomas, I don't think we have further questions. If you would like to add anything more, please do. And then we can close this webinar for today.
All right. The presentation, I think, summarize the overall idea. Of course, if you have any other question or you want to have a chat with me, you can always email me. So my background, as MJ said before, yes, I'm an Italian visual artist, but graphic design is pretty much my background. So I work for a publishing house before, and developed several graphic and logo even for company as Oracle. So if you need any help in this side of your company, I mean, in terms of visual, I'm open to respond to your question.
So thank you so much, Tommaso, for your time. I would like to also thank all the participants for spending your valuable time and the evening with us. We hope this webinar has benefited you, given you a better idea about logos and the importance of it. And look forward to seeing you all in our next webinar on the 17th. Thank you very much. Thank you, Tommaso, and wish everyone a wonderful evening.
Thank you, everybody, again, and thank you for staying with us for the webinar. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Tommaso. Thank you, everybody.